So let's take a look at how Games Workshop's latest big boxes are selling, take a look at one of the hints that Games Workshop have been cancelling reveal shows, a small narrative rules teaser from our upcoming codex, and do a quick roundup of the Warhammer related news this week. Hello and welcome back to Warspets Tactics, where today it's time for another roundup of the Warhammer news, basically a whole bunch of things that I thought were interesting enough to mention, but maybe didn't really need an entire video all to themselves. A few interesting things this week. I thought I'd check in on Games Workshop's latest sale of Mechanicum and Knights over the weekend, the curious case of the missing reveal shows, some teased narrative rules for the upcoming Imperial Agents Codex, the identity of the next likely reveal to come for the Immortal Realms, and a bit of a roundup of all the stuff coming up for Warhammer 40k. Lots to talk about, so let's jump straight in. First up, I was kind of interested to check in on the popularity of Games Workshop's latest Battle Group box sets. These are basically the discount sort of launch offerings for the Horus Heresy, and over the past week we had two of them. The Mechanicum one with the Automata, the Thalax Tech Thralls and the Triaros Armoured Conveyor, and the Knights Battle Group, basically a Cerastus Castigator and an Acheron in the same box, both of which did at least seem to have a fair bit of interest out there, though I do find it kind of intriguing as to how much interest translates into sales and popularity for Games Workshop's offerings. The Mechanicum Battle Group was £130, $210 or €170, appearing about a roundabout 35% discount. The Knights were pretty pricey, but that was kind of expected given that this is basically Games Workshop's single most expensive plastic model, and you get two of them in one box. It's around about 26% off, or roughly buy one get one half price on the Cerastus Big Boys. I wasn't necessarily expecting these to sell out, though I really wasn't too sure about the Cerastus Knights, given that they sort of feel like their Games Workshop essentially trying to clear unsold stock for the Castigator and the Acheron. I've speculated in a couple of previous videos that I suspect they got far less attention than the Lancer, as that one came first, and I suspect was the one that probably had the most interest compared with all the other Cerastus, at least to the most people out there. I wasn't sure if the Knights might be actually kind of in short supply as a result if they're being touted as a discount offering, maybe more dependent on how much stock Games Workshop had left over. So far it looks like neither kit has sold out on the Games Workshop web stores, so that kind of implies that Games Workshop had really quite a lot of the Castigator and the Acheron kits on hand, and this very much wasn't a token release with only a few of them available for people. For a few bits of sales data over the past 24 hours that I've seen, it does appear that there's been vastly more interest in the Dual Knights box set rather than the Mechanicum forces. I don't know if that's maybe just being a little bit more applicable to 40k, or maybe just a bit more focal and exciting in terms of big chunky models, or maybe just that Knights armies don't really tend to get many discounts, so people tend to jump on them quite a lot. I perhaps feel like the Mechanicum Battle Force set maybe had its fans, but perhaps wasn't the absolute ideal mix of miniatures within the box maybe. It seems that some of the ones that people are the most excited for are the Thalax and the Archmagos, neither of which are appearing in this one. In any case though, you can say that Games Workshop's made more of them than there appears to be demand to sell them out in one day at least. In general I'd say that's a good thing, as it means that people who want to pick them up can, though I guess you could also look at it as them not being quite as popular as some other Battle Force type kits. If you were looking to pick up either one of these, it looks like a bunch of my affiliate retailers down in the video description do have some left. Wargame Portal in the USA has got a good amount of both kits left, at least at time of recording, and they do a 15% discount in the USA. Fenris Workshop in Canada has 10% off, and looks like they've got a good amount of both left as well. Element Games in the UK seems to be out of the Knights. They still have Mechanicum, and they are doing a combined set on two of the regular Knights boxed individually. And Gap Games in Australia appears to be sold out of both. In any case, feel free to check out the links down in the video description if you were picking them up. It does save a bit of money and help support the channel a little. While we're on the subject of the discount retailers, I thought I'd also just quickly mention the Space Marine giveaway that Wargame Portal is running in the USA, which might be of interest to some of you out there. Basically this one's for 6 copies of the Space Marine game, run as a promotion to promote their web store, and looks like their prizes are 1 Ultimate Edition, 2 Gold Editions and 3 Standard Editions. The winners to be drawn on the 1st of September. This one does look like it's tailored extra heavy to reward pre-orders, basically getting 1 entry per $1 spent at the web store, and pre-orders get triple, and you can also enter with 1 entry for free via an online form. Might just be of interest to some of you if you were looking to pick up the game, and as ever their site's links down in the video description, and does support Warspets Tactics with any Warhammer sales or pre-orders. Next up, let's move on to the curious case of Games Workshop's missing reveal shows, which I don't really necessarily have any good explanation for, but it looks like there's a little bit of evidence that they've skipped out on another one. As we all know, over the past year or so, Games Workshop typically tends to showcase their shiny new models at live reveal shows that are paired with an online preview, their staff streaming a show, where previously it was a sort of live interaction with chat style thing, and then they moved it to a bit more of a polished presentation where you didn't get any audience interaction, but they talked with miniature designers and stuff. In any case though, these have been kind of conspicuous by their absence over the past couple of months. For quite a while, people were generally expecting that they'd have a reveal show at the Tacoma Open in Washington. I believe in the previous year they had at least some sort of reveal show at literally every one of these big major grand tournament things that they had over in the USA. And this one had come after around about 6 weeks of no major news. But then Games Workshop just let the opportunity pass by, didn't mention anything on their community page, and they just streamed tournament games and things. As a tangent, it was kind of interesting that they had no Meta Watch article the week after. They usually tend to have a Meta Watch article after these as well, but it looks like there's maybe a good chance they cancelled that due to the winner basically handing their prize and placing back after playing some major rules wrong for half the tournament, which I guess wouldn't exactly be a good look for them. That aside, I also had an interesting thing shared to me on Discord, and it also looks like there was some sort of Warhammer preview scheduled for Gen Con. It was supposed to be the Friday night just gone, but it looks like that was also cancelled. I must admit it does feel a bit weird that Games Workshop's cancelled a couple of reveal shows in a row seemingly now, though I'm not 100% sure whether or not they would have wanted the Tacoma one and the Gen Con one to be quite so close together. But either way, I guess that gives us a bit of evidence that they were indeed planning to do some previews around this area, and then either had to cancel them or chose to cancel them for some reason. The reason definitely isn't lack of things to reveal, given that it seems that it's pretty likely that Blood Angels and the Imperial Agents Codex both would have been revealed at least one of these events, and then it looks like these shows were then scrapped, and then they decided just to put them up on their Warhammer community preview page on Mondays. I've not really seen too much discussion as to why these might have gone away. I guess it's probably a temporary thing as opposed to permanent, unless it just keeps on going on like this and Games Workshop decides to stop going live anymore. My first guess will be something like staff illness or needing to have some time away which has disrupted things, though it could be all manner of other reasons I guess. Let me know your thoughts or if you have any insights on that down in the comments. Talking of new codexes coming up though, the next one should be Imperial Agents. I'm certainly very interested to see a little bit more of the details of the book, plenty of questions from it such as what the other detachments do, how much of a role Death Watch are going to get, and what are the role of the new datasheets like the Navigator and the Priest be, though it seems that Games Workshop is keeping that under wraps for now. There was a kind of fun teaser from earlier in the week though, where they revealed a few Crusade rules for them. I do quite enjoy the idea of how they implement these armies basically fighting on a multi-battle sort of campaign type thing, whether it's things like a multi-battle campaign mode or sending to Demon Hood or Drukhari running off with all slaves and pain. And it seems this is the version for the Inquisitors and the Agents. For this one, it looks like the idea is that you're basically an Inquisitor trying to maintain Imperial order in a subsector, and while they're going about their normal battles, fighting with the various foes of the Emperor of Man, they're also trying to covertly gather intelligence on various plots and threats to the sector, great or small, basically starting with 3 different threats on the table, which can either be extremist level, majorist level, or minorist level, seemingly encompassing most of the things that Inquisitors might have to go about dealing with day to day, uncovering enemy spy networks, putting down an agent provocateur, leading uprisings, or stopping a great diabolical ritual. And the way they go about uncovering these is to gain intelligence points, sending agents into the midfield in the middle of the game, usually to do secret agendas, and if they're successful they'll have better chances at being able to uncover the plot and then address it. It then appears that whether you succeed or fail on addressing these threats gives you an overall score. You get a sort of order versus disorder dial, where the worst that can happen is the subsector collapses and falls to the enemies, or you put down the rebels and enemies with such masterful executions you strike terror into the enemies of the Emperor, and you're rewarded with these Vermilion level asset type things, quite powerful upgrades for Inquisitors and their allies. Overall seems kind of fun. Not sure if there'll be more complexity than that in the book, but always find it at least a little bit interesting to see what sort of ways they try and make the lore work for Crusade purposes. For the next miniature reveals, whether it's a reveal show or otherwise, it looks like it's Skaven coming next. I guess there's always the possibility of other random things dropping in the week, They often tend to put their most major releases on Monday when they happen. But beyond that, seems like there's going to be a major reveal for the Skaven, probably on the 10th of August. Games Workshop have had one of their Versus campaigns running in a similar sort of thing to what they did with the Tyranids versus the Space Marines at the start of 10th. Basically, each of the Skaven type box sets allowed you to submit a result towards a campaign, basically deciding whether or not the Skaven or the Stormcast Eternals had won the last fight, and the winner of that overall campaign would get their miniatures first and their army book first. Looks like this one's pretty dead set to be Skaven rather than Stormcast. I have a feeling that there's a bit of an element of these just being used as a straight up vote as to which miniatures they want to see next. So it looks like on the 10th of August we'll get to see some brand new and shiny Rat Men when this Battle for Hellcrown campaign is finished. Should be fun to take a look at in any case. I have enjoyed the Skaven miniatures, and they do seem to be the faction that people have been most excited for in Age of Sigmar 4th, even if the Stormcast miniatures have often been quite good fun, I think. Finally, looking to the future, it does mean that we've got quite a good idea for a fair few 40k kits to come out now. Still, at some point, Games Workshop is going to owe us a catch-up week with a whole bunch of things that have already essentially been released coming out individually. We've still got 4 Kill Team kits that have been far too long to materialise: the Night Lords, Drukari Mandrakes, Votan Jaegers, and the Genestealer Cult Brood Brothers. Hopefully they're not too much longer in doing that, though I have a suspicion that they might well just be saving them for whenever the next actual Kill Team box set drops. A bit of a waiting game for anyone who passed up on the Kill Team set when it came out and just wants the one individual team as opposed to both sets. But fingers crossed that shouldn't be too much longer. Otherwise, for 40k miniatures, we've got the 2 Chaos Lords, the Foot one and the Jump Pack one, the Genestealer called Benefactus with his anti-tank shenanigans, and the Sisters Jump Caroness. Again, might well be on a week when the next 40k releases come out all bundled together. Otherwise though, for the more major 40k releases, we've got a fair calendar of them lined up again. Next should be Agents of the Imperium, given that they were revealed first. We know they've got 3 battle forces, one for each of the Ordos, and one of them will feature the shiny new Kotias that there certainly hasn't been all that much love for out there on the internet. It seems very likely that they'll come out with a combat patrol for them as well, so that might be one more Agents discount box set to weigh up against all the rest. And then they'll need some individual releases to follow up with that. Inquisitor Kotias, the Navigator, the other Ministorum Priest Sculpt, plus a re-release of all the other characters that have been removed. It is a bit weird to see the Assassins and things out of stock at the moment. Then after that we should have the Blood Angels, with the army sets being the day 1 release. That comes with a codex in it, and it likely means quite a lengthy gap between the army set dropping and then the individual releases with some more kits and the codex out separately. And that will mean that the Blood Angels Codex is in limbo for a time, where you basically have the new rules and stats and things, but you don't have the points costs. Then we'll have the follow-up with the individual releases of presumably Lamarti's Asterath and the Upgrade Sprue, plus some as of yet unrevealed things. Given that they said gold, it's quite likely at least either Sanguinor or Sanguinary Guard, quite possibly both. Maybe some other things like a Sanguinary Priest or some other characters. Again, they'll probably have their Combat Patrol redone as well. Then we've got the Kill Team box set that seems to be pretty dead set to be Scions versus Vespid given the teasers. This one's not formally been announced yet. I guess if they're not doing preview shows at the moment, it could well just turn up on one of their Monday previews. I'll certainly be looking forward to seeing the miniatures when we get to take a look at them though. Will be really cool to see how they've reinterpreted them. I guess a fair few things to keep them busy in the meantime. It would be kind of nice for them to give us a new Codex roadmap, though that hasn't turned up yet. The only one that they've confirmed beyond that is that Grey Knights are getting a book, and that's coming in 2025, so a little bit longer to wait for the Knights of Titan. Finally, and while we're on the subject of model releases, I thought I'd just mention the Channel 3D printed army releases for this month. 3D printing STL files for the Iron Enforcers, found on the Thangs website, links down in the video description. This month we've got some walkers to restore order to the streets in the Constable Walker, packing a whole bunch of various different weapon systems, from solid shot cannons, missile launchers to energy weapons. Could be useful to some of you perhaps as a stand-in for other miniatures out there. Here's the full set of the weapons customization and parts. You can flip the weapons so you've got 2 different options on each side. There's 3 different poses for the legs and the option of an open versus slightly more enclosed carapace. Alongside that, on the subscription for this month, there's a squad of XK9 cyber dogs, robot doggos to hunt down some fleeing dissidents. There's 5 different poses, and you can either field them as they are without any weapon system on the top, or mounting a top machine gun, net launcher or shotgun. Hopefully it might be useful designs to some of you. As per usual with these things, if you're interested, they're found on the Thanks subscription, links down in the video description for Across the Legions. It's normally $10 per month for all the files that you might get. There's at least one mainline unit per month and often two. And you can get the first 3 months for 30% off with the code ATL30. So effectively this one is $7 for the designs for the Walkers and the Cyberdogs. After that, the units go on general sale on the Fangs website. Hopefully the army's offering will be expanding more and more over time, but so far there's the patrolman infantry squads, the enforcer on terror trams, segways with taser prods, and then the customizable oppressor transport with the tracks versus wheels. Finally, there's a bunch of free stuff over there. These 4 miniature STLs are free to download, a segway patrolman, one of the Cyberdogs from this month, a standard infantry patrolman, and a tank commander. I've been enjoying these rolling out, and there's going to be some jump jets and a riot van to come next month. Feel free to check that out at thanks down in the video description if you're interested in picking up the files. In any case, I'll leave that one there for now. Let me know your thoughts on any of the Games Workshop news. What do you make of the cancelled reveal shows? Were you tempted to pick up any Cerastus Knights? And let me know what your hopes and fears are for the upcoming 40k releases. Are Games Workshop going to get Blood Angels and Imperial Agents right or not? If you've enjoyed all the videos, then feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics, or I'll certainly keep the regular 40k videos coming, as I do tend to post a new video at least every day. Finally, if you have been enjoying all the videos and you'd like to help support, I would just like to mention that Auspex Tactics does have a Patreon page, and that's linked down in the video description. Channel patrons do get a few advantages, seeing certain videos early, regular votes to see what sort of things come next on the channel, and automatic entry into the regular prize giveaways with a chance to win some big model kits each month. If any of that sounds good to you, or you'd just like to help support, the link is down in the video description. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.